Hey guys, we have a bit of a logistical issue this month, and so I'm letting you guys pick a game again. So if you watched the recent-ish video where I talked about like the schedule crunching and stuff, I talked about like my sort of structure here, but for review, I have a series of time slots in the schedule. 11 o'clock in the morning Pacific time is the RPG slot. Definition gets slightly stretched for the sake of stuff like Yakuza 3, but basically it's like the hour-long slot for really long games that are RPG or RPG-like games for the most part. Then noon every day is Let's Tries, which are my one-off videos for the many games that I can't really cover in full, generally speaking. Which, side note, I'm trying a new thing where I let the games run for longer here and there. I was trying to do half-an-hour videos because it's a daily series and I can't let it drift too much, but now I'm kind of relaxing things and letting it be like, oh, this is an hour-long video, this is an hour and a half long video, or whatever. And what I do is I just cross out a few days after that. So if it's an hour-long video, it counts as 2 videos. If it's an hour and a half video, it counts as 3 videos, and so on, based on how many like 30-minute intervals that the video was in total. So like a 2-hour video would count as 4 videos, and what I would do is I'd just upload that video and then I would just cross out the next 3 days. So it all evens out to 30 minutes per day, and that's how I'm dealing with that. So it's not always daily anymore, but it's usually to compensate for like, that was a long Sims video or Animal Crossing video or Paladins video. That way I can let certain games breathe a little more, but not actually still get in the trap of making way more video and so on and falling behind and so on. So that's the noon time slot. Then 1 p.m. it's the Patreon time slot. That's the one where you guys, well, at least those of you that are on the Patreon, nominate and vote for a game. Right now that's the Metroid Prime, and that just kind of cycles. And then there's my one other discretionary miscellaneous slot, my 2 p.m., which has kind of become a huge, like, multifaceted thing because I tried to have particular slots before, and they kind of have all crunched into that one time slot these days because it's just kind of like the amount of video content I can reasonably keep up with these days. So I'm trying to keep diversity in there. And if you watched that previous video, I kind of introduced the idea that I'm trying to kind of cycle through particular kinds of games a little bit more because I have a problem where it's like there's always the demand to play the new games and so on, for obvious reasons. As they come out constantly, there's always a demand for that stuff. But like I also have niche things where I want to cover like indie games and puzzle games because that's kind of my wheelhouse and stuff. And also, like, I want to play games from my childhood and like retro games or games I never got to that are like 10, 15, 20 years old and stuff like that. And I always want to find out how to put that stuff in the schedule, but it never really had a place. So I think it always came as a surprise to you guys whenever I did finally get around to playing like Perfect Dark or Intelligent Cube or Onimusha, which were like some of the only times I got around to playing a retro game that wasn't voted for by Patreon, because I finally you know what, I was finally like, you know what, fuck it, we're doing this now, and it'll just make it fit the schedule and so on. So, and what I want to do is I want to make that a permanent part of the schedule. And so what's going on here is this 2 p.m. slot is getting complicated, but it's going to be a rotation essentially. So it's going to have an indie slot, it's going to have a puzzle slot, it's going to have a modern AAA, what's the hottest new craze thing slot, because I'm doing my due diligence of, you know, growing the channel and all that. And then I'm going to get to my 90s games and 2000s games, like just generally stuff from not the last decade, but the 2 before that, basically. And it'll be a combination of like games I was meant to get to, or games that like are from my childhood I want to revisit and so on. And so that leads to situations like right now we're in the middle of the indie game, which is Ori and the Blind Forest. I mean, Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Which, yes, I get it. Like, that's stretching the definition of indie by a lot. It's published by Microsoft. It's pretty much by definition not indie, but it has like the indie like aesthetic and theming and genre and so on. It comes across as what people would vaguely call indie, albeit incorrectly. But I'm gonna make up for that because the puzzle game is gonna be very indie also. So if you're not satisfied with Ori, that'll do that. But that leads to an issue. Was like there's just too many fucking games this month. So when it comes to the game I'm gonna play after Ori, which is gonna be the big AAA game, which one do I fucking play? So looking at my schedule here, Pokemon Mystery Dungeons remake came out this month, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Nioh 2, Doom Eternal, Resident Evil 3, and Animal Crossing New Horizons all in the same fucking month. So I think I can reasonably skip over Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, so boom, throw that in the garbage. And Animal Crossing, we just did a Let's Try of. It just doesn't really fit. Like, how the fuck do you even cover a game like that, and so on. It's just, and I also don't really like Animal Crossing that much, so it's just not, no. There's plenty of better options. But with Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Nioh 2, Doom Eternal, and Resident Evil 3, not only do we have 4 games that make for pretty, like, probably pretty alright playthroughs, and like, and they all fit in my wheelhouse of like kind of games that I cover on this channel, so they're all like on my umbrella. But also, they're all sequels to games I covered already, because I already did Ori and the Blind Forest, Nioh, Doom 2016, and Resident Evil 2's remake. So, like, it's like, even the usual rules of like, oh yeah, Keith played that game and he really liked that game, and now the sequel's out. Of course he'll play the sequel, obviously. Like, that whole logic doesn't work here, because there's too many of them at the same time. So I've already got Ori, so that's out. That's out. We're done with that. We don't have to worry about that. But that leaves 3 options, and I have 1 slot, so I have to pick one. So you guys got to pick one. So here comes the vote. So like, you can vote for Nioh 2 or Doom Eternal, or Resident Evil 3. You can vote for multiple if you want to. I don't want them to. I don't want one or the other. I think they're pretty different games. Like, it's a survival horror game, action shooter, and a Souls-like. But just in case, I do the check all that apply style of voting so that they don't cannibalize each other's votes. I still don't recommend voting for all 3, because then you're not actually making a choice at all. But you know, you can vote for 1 or 2 of them, and so you're good there, just to display your preference. But yeah, like I'm just, the point of the AAA, let's play the AAA game thing, is to be like, you know, let's play the big popular game that a lot of you guys want. So it makes sense to let you guys vote on this. But as far as what happens to the losers, I don't know. Maybe I'll finally get around to them like 6 months from now, or maybe they'll be like Jedi Fallen Order and games like that, where they just kind of get on the infinite backlog, and I genuinely have no idea if they'll ever get picked ever, or if I'll ever get around to them because just the time didn't quite ever line up. Or maybe Patreon will just be like, no, I want this playthrough to happen, and they choose it like a few months from now or something. But like, that's the deal right now. So we're finishing the indie game, then it's going to be the AAA game, then it's going to be the puzzle game, which is going to be Beautiful Desolation. I look forward to playing Beautiful Desolation. So that'll if you didn't think Ori was sufficiently indie and that I'm smudging my definitions here to keep up with the popular demand, then Beautiful Desolation should be sufficiently indie, because I think it's made by like 2 people or something that are family, and it's from the people that made Kane, and I look forward to playing that right after whatever game you guys are about to pick, which because like it'll be Ori, then this game, then Beautiful Desolation, and then retro game, which I'm really leaning towards Jet Force Gemini. I'm so curious about that game. I played it as a kid. I never beat it. It was like too complicated, but I played it a lot. I feel like I played it for dozens of hours, but also never beat it. And was sharing it with my brother and so on, and it's just like a really weird, nostalgic, strange game that I think is undercovered on YouTube, and I'm just really curious, like, is it going to be like really nostalgic and age really well and be like a weird hidden gem, or am I going to be like, oh god, it's awful now, or so on? And like, I'm just looking forward to the experience of getting around to playing Jet Force Gemini again, and really all of Rareware's games. And then we rotate back around. Like, then after I play Jet Force Gemini, we play an indie game, and then you might be thinking like, well, that's rotated around. Time for next AAA game, right? So like, you know, second place of this vote. Like, if Nioh 2, Doom Eternal, Resident Evil 3, like whichever one didn't win, maybe we'll get to that one next. It's like, but that's where the problem is, because like by the time we rotate back around, like The Last of Us Part 2 will probably be out, and like games I'm not even thinking about right now will probably be out that people will be like, of course Keith would play that, obviously. So like, I can't promise anything. I have no idea. There's too many games and they take too long to play, and I'm playing several at once and it's still not fast enough. So so no promises. There's a chance that I'll never play the other 2 games. I have no idea. So vote well, everybody. Link in the description to the vote. We're gonna watch trailers now. Link in the description. Go vote.
We are all born into this world. And we must all one day leave it. Death is a certainty. So must we live with all our might.
The inner circle of death is where he resides. Hunting them at the far reaches of the earth and beyond. And with him lies our salvation. There is only one dominant life form in this universe, and it carries a steel-barreled sword of vengeance.
Welcome home, Great Slayer.
The Slayer's time is now.
Hey, easy, lady. I got you.
Who are you? What do you do?
Name's Carlos, and I'm saving. I'm with the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, UBCS for short.
This city is completely cut off, isolated. We need help. My men cannot do this alone.
The town's crawling with those freaks. No chance of fighting our way out of the city. Why is she here? She's unreliable.
It's me he's after. I'll buy you some time.
Hey, wait! Wait, Jill! Jill, what happened? Come in!